George, do you want one?
Well, yeah, sure.
Make 2 copies,
Okay.
please. So I also brought a couple of contracts real quick, guys. This one is a ongoing new construction contract. Everybody can grab one. This one is an 18-acre property that I closed last year. It's got some fun stuff in there that I had to deal with, as far as the land was actually split up, before they sold off some of the land. It was actually a 25-acre tract of land, and there was an actual easement that was in there. Who just grabbed one?
I
somebody's-
did.
Yeah, I think you're missing a couple pages.
Yeah.
And
Like
Micah,
this one or this one?
and then the
This is two.
last one I did, who else? You got one, Christy?
Are these two separate things?
Yeah, that's what I'm confused about. I just have these two.
Is that two?
Yeah, there should be,
Are there two different contracts?
there's actually 3 different contracts that
Yeah.
I printed out.
Okay.
One should have Mike Renninger on it, and one of them should have a crossed out name because we're still working that contract. And then I also have an owner financing one, which we'll go over last. We may not hit on everything today, guys, so, I just wanna kinda go over some of the basics, and then we'll go from there. So, when you're getting ready to fill out a contract, what are some of the information that you're gonna need from your client? Before you ever start filling out a contract, what are some of the things you're gonna need?
Approval letter?
Pre-approval letter, what else?
Name, address.
Working with a real estate.
You
firm?
said name, what kind of name?
Legal?
Legal name. We don't need Bubba and their real name is John, Malcolm, whatever, okay? We need your legal name as it is written, like you're filing for your taxes, okay? Make sure you're very clear about that. I need your legal name. Alright, so you need a pre-approval letter. You need their legal name. And also the other thing I like to ask my people too, because when you're getting up into the higher price, clients like 250, 300, they may have their own closing attorney. Okay, so a lot of times I will ask them, do you have a preferred closing attorney? If not, I usually close through who I close through. Okay, Saddle Creek Title's great. If there's a couple of really, Guardian, Title is really good. They're over there in South Haven. They do a fantastic job. Anybody else that I'm missing?
No, those are the two.
Those are the
This
two
is
that
the third on the checklist,
But I would,
the closing attorney.
no,
then
it's
they
not
have-
actually on the checklist, but
as you have I've had clients that's had a family attorney that does family law or some other kind of law, avoid them like the plague, because they will
Yes.
screw it up from the ground up.
No family law.
Yeah.
no,
That's what
you
they-
want somebody
When
that
you want
is,
someone that does it
Specialized
every
You want
day
a
is what
closing
they do.
attorney.
yeah, you
Yeah.
want somebody that is a real estate closing attorney. That is what they do day in and day out, okay? The other thing that you may need, so we got pre-approval, legal,
Working with the real estate broker?
well, we're gonna get into that as far as doing the contract itself. But the other thing too is home inspection. When are you gonna do the home inspection? Are you gonna do it in 10 days? Are you gonna do it within 2 weeks? When are you gonna actually do it?
Been 5 days, isn't it?
I usually, so one of the things on a home inspection, do it ASAP. As soon as possible. As soon as you can get a home inspector out there, which by the way, guys, when y'all share a home inspector, you have to share 3, okay? You cannot just give them one option. Real Estate Commission says we have to give them 3 options. The same thing with the lender. Even if you want, you can give your recommendation, okay? You can say, here are my 3 home inspectors, here are my 3 lenders. I recommend you using such and such.
Right.
You can do that, okay? But you have to give them those 3 options, okay? So we've gone pre-approval letter, legal names. We've already gone over when they're gonna do the home inspection. And like Christy says, I would do it within the first 5 days. And there's a reason for that. Just because you wanna get this done, because you're gonna have to, that's another thing within the contract that you're gonna have to negotiate. After the original terms of the negotiation, the second part of negotiation is repairs. Okay, those are the two parts of the negotiation that you're really gonna have to worry about as far as moving forward on a contract. So what is, when you are filling out a packet and you are sending it to your client to sign, what is the very first thing they have to sign?
Sticking with the rules, sticking with the rules.
You hush, because you already know this. Some of the stuff you're gonna have to shh.
Okay, I
I'm
will
gonna let them teach. I want them to learn. This right here, okay? This also, if you are out showing properties, this is supposed to be signed. You're working with a real estate broker. It doesn't matter if it's the first time you meet them. It has to be signed. It is not so in Tennessee, but this is Mississippi real estate law. This is something we have to do, whether you like it or not. You have to, the best thing you can do is tell them that this is for their benefit. This is not a legal binding document, and that all this does is explain agency to them as a consumer. That is all it's doing. Okay? This does not bind them to you as a buyer's agent. This does not bind them to you as a listing agent. It is no binding factor at all. Alright, but this has to be signed first. The other document, which you're not gonna deal with a lot because we are a smaller brokerage, that has to be done first on a contract. But if for some reason you are bringing a buyer to a My Home Realty listing, we have to do dual agency, okay? Before the contract is sent. So what I would do is, if you are in a dual agency type of situation, send this and the dual agency first before you send anything else, and have them sign that first.
Is
Like
that
I said, you're not gonna.
That's a form, dual agency?
It is a dual agency form. And all it states is that the seller and the buyer understand that both of the agents that are representing them are underneath the same brokerage, okay? You're gonna need to know this for your tests.
That's just told us.
They will go over dual agency, okay? It will be on the test. So the easiest way for me to explain this to y'all, to explain dual agency, I'm gonna go to Crylike. Crylike's huge, okay? They're all throughout the country. Well, it doesn't matter if there's a Crylite agent in Texas and you're in Mississippi. You are underneath Crylite brokerage, okay? You work for Crylite. The client is represented by Crylite, okay? That is who is actually representing the client. Us as agents cannot sell real estate under, as an individual. We have to sell real estate underneath a brokerage, okay? That's why they require that you have a brokerage already lined up before you go take your test, or within 2 weeks of taking your test, that you're gonna provide a brokerage. So that is the easiest way that I can explain that to you. Does anybody have a question about dual agency? Okay, all right, so then we're gonna go through this contract line by line real quick. Oh,
Yeah, I don't think I have everything. This one.
so we're gonna go over, this is the new construction. It's the one that has the name whited out.
Let's see here. Right here.
Yep, that's it.
Not Mr. Jones, right?
No.
It's at 545
No.
South Front.
Yep, that's it. That's it. It's Mrs. Jones. You got it, Micah?
I'm still looking for it.
No, that's the
Just the
checklist.
checklist.
Oh, sorry, I got
I don't know if I have this one or not, cause
It's not me.
I'm seeing,
That's not it, it'll be the next one.
okay.
Yep, that's it. That has the name whited out. Alright, so the other thing, other than dual agency, I always send this first. It's the pre-approval letter, okay? That way, the seller, agent, and the selling client understand that your person is pre-approved for a loan, and what kind of loan they're buying with, okay? If they're going conventional, if they're going FHA, if they're going USDA, this letter says it all, right here, okay? The other thing you may want to do, especially you ladies, when y'all are out showing properties for your safety, don't go by yourself, especially if you're first time meeting a client. If me or George need to go with you, and you could, because you don't feel comfortable, please call us and let us know. But one of the other ways you can protect yourself is get them pre-approved first.
And that means they're legit.
They're legit, they can afford to buy, they're not wasting your time. Please do not waste time on time wasters, okay? Don't
Is it legal?
do it.
Is it, I know you carry a gun, is it legal to carry a gun?
In Mississippi, yes, in Tennessee, you have to have your carry permit. You can have it in the car, but you can't have it on you. But in Mississippi, you can carry a gun.
There is, one of my clients, Alan, he actually texted me this morning, they give a don't be a victim class, it's about situational
Mhm.
awareness, things like that. It'd be something good, we could have it here if
We
you
need
guys
to
wanna
do
do
that.
it.
I think we will.
Robbie was
That's something I
concerned
was
about
gonna do that.
Yeah.
But guys, for real, if y'all are out showing to a client, and this goes for you too, Micah, if you don't feel comfortable, if they feel shady, go with your gut. Because 90% of the time, your gut is gonna be right, okay? And just, I guarantee you, if me and George are not busy, we will take the time to come out there and make sure that y'all are okay.
Can you sit outside and be like, hey, you can.
Oh, I'm not even gonna,
Take
I
your
will sit
husband
at the
or
curb
anybody.
if I need to.
No, I'm saying, like, if you couldn't find somebody to go, could you be like, oh, I'm gonna stay out here, y'all go check out the
No.
house?
No, you can't do that as an agent, but you can bring your husband, you can bring your kids, you can have them come up here to the office. If you can't get them pre-approved, have them meet you up here at the office. Get their driver's
That was
license
my next
number.
question, can you get their driver's license?
Get their driver's license, make a copy of it. That way, if God forbid something ever happened, we have a record here at the office that you were going to show that property to this person.
Well, and if they're,
Okay.
if they're gonna let you do that, that gives you more of a warm.
Exactly, and
They're more legit.
exactly, it gives you more of a legit feeling that they are on the up and up. And there are a lot, y'all know there are a lot of crazies out there, so please protect yourselves. Please do. Alright, so going into the contract. I did this one just because she actually has a trust. So you're not gonna see this in most cases. This is kind of actually pretty cool where we're actually she is an individual buying the home through her trust. And just to let y'all know, guys, if you have a trust and your house is in a trust, you don't have to go through probate. Okay? That means if your kids are supposed to inherit the house, it will, unless they're 21, they can't inherit it, but it will automatically go into their name. You don't have to go through probate. I think in that case, the lawyer would actually hold, they would actually hold the possession of the property as owner until your kids came of age. But if your stuff is actually in a trust, it doesn't have to go through probate at all. So the first 29 lines are the key element to this contract. It is stating who is buying the property, who is selling the property address, and the big one here is the legal description. Okay? Especially in the country, you want to make sure that legal description is right. I have heard horror stories of people that have bought land and there was not the proper legal description on that land. They go to build on that land, the seller comes, or the person who actually owns the land comes up and says, hey, why are you building on my land?
Everybody goes.
And guess who's responsible? Us as the buyer's agent. Not the selling agent, us as the buyer's agent. Because it is our duty to make sure that our clients are represented. We are the professionals. We are the licensees, okay? So please protect yourself. If you have any questions on the legal description, depending on where it's at in DeSoto County, you can actually go on to DeSoto County Tax Assessor's website and you can actually pull up we'll do a whole nother class on that, but they actually have a website. If it's in Marshall or Tay County, you're gonna actually have to call down to the county office. and
Before-
talk to somebody, and that is a nightmare. But, they're just government officials, they don't get paid very much. They probably get paid $10, $11 an hour and they don't care.
And Before
Okay.
you guys are too scared off, we're the first ones you do, we will do together,
Yes.
okay, until you guys feel comfortable, or until I feel like I'm ready to push you out of the nest a little bit.
So I'll give you all a story real quick on my very first contract that I wrote. I did not do a packet. I did not do working with a broker's firm. I literally did a contract. And, you know, it was my first time. I didn't know any better. Nobody was there to help me. I was not here. I was at Crowley. But I had a great broker. And after I filled out the contract, I actually called him. He was at home. He actually had me come up to his house and he talked me through everything. Y'all have two guys here that are willing to help y'all. Please, if y'all have any questions, please reach out to us. George first, I know he gets busy, but if he is not available, I'm always available. You can ask my wife sometimes, she's like, really, why are you on the phone all the time? I'm like, because that's my job and I'm here to help. I want to see y'all succeed. I really do. I don't want to see y'all get in trouble. I want y'all to have fun in this business, and the way to have fun is to do things right. Okay? And if you know you're doing things right, you can enjoy that commission check when it comes in. Okay? So this is actually a new construction. This is not going to be completed until June of 2020, probably July of 2020. This was a listing for me, and they were buying a new construction. So this is why you want to go after the listing side, but that's a whole nother class. You're going to deal with buyers more as an agent, starting out, than you are probably going to be dealing with sellers. So you need to definitely know this contract. Who wants to read? I guess, yeah, we'll go ahead and read. Who wants to read line 8 through 17? Christy, you're over there just biting at the bit.
I'll do it. He's picking on me, I'll do it.
Yeah.
You said 8 through 17?
Yes.
Alright, so the property is further described as tax parcel, lot number 67, Copperleaf at Arbor Point subdivision, together with any of the following presently located therein. All built-in appliances, ceiling fans, all plumbing and heating and air conditioning equipment, including all window units, stationary laundry tubs, water heaters, doors, windows, storm doors, and window treatments, as in shutters, blinds, shades, and associated hardware, awnings, carpet, bathroom fixtures, and mirrors, lighting fixtures, and their shades, gas logs, fireplace doors and screens, security system components, smoke detectors, garage door openers, antenna and satellite dishes, including rotor equipment but excluding proprietary components, central vacuum systems, attachments, landscaping, fences, permanently installed pet fences and equipment, including the collars, gates and outdoor lighting, swimming pools and equipment, mailboxes, water pumps, pressure tanks, permanently installed playgroup equipment, and permanently installed cooking grills and keys to all doors with key locks or deadbolts.
Okay, so it is clearly stating in right here that all this stays with the property. So if your seller has their favorite shrub that they planted in memory of their mother, and they're wanting to take that with them, you need to say, okay, well, we need to put this in the contract that this tree or shrub or whatever is not staying with the property. And you need to let that know when a buyer comes. Again, that's all on the listing side, but just kind of let you know. Go ahead.
Alright, so it says, and window treatments in my mind, of course, are shutters and blinds, and it says shades. Is that curtains as well?
It could be, because once you screw it into the real estate and it is fixated, it is considered part of the real estate. Just like if you took a microwave and mounted it, it's considered part of the real estate. If it's just sitting on the counter, it's not.
Right.
Okay.
That's a fix to it.
Yes, so anything that your sellers are not wanting to take, or you have a question as far as your buyers buying, that you want to stay with that property, special stipulations, which is at the end of the contract, make sure it's in that in that column that such and such blinds on this window stay with the property. The reason why I say that, even though it is stated in here, is it protects you and your client when y'all actually go to closing or go to do that final walkthrough and that has been removed.
I have been on the final walkthrough one time.
Yeah, and then your client's up in arms,
We
and they're
almost didn't
wondering
sell the house
where
over it.
that shade went, you know, so, the best thing you can do is be very clear in special stipulations about stuff like that.
Yeah,
And we'll get into that as we go through the contract.
yeah.
So the next thing is gonna be the purchase price of the property. So you're gonna get clients that are gonna come in and a house has not been on the market 5 days, it's listed for $250, and they're gonna come in and wanna offer $200,000. That, it's gonna happen. Jordan, am I lying?
Yeah, I just fired a client.
Okay. It's gonna happen, okay? You have to explain to these people, because a lot of these people haven't bought maybe since 2008, where there was a whole fiasco of, you know, stuff was just in the hole,
Right.
all right? It was. We're not in that market right now. We're in a seller's market. Properties that are in good condition are not sitting on the market more than 30 days. They're gone and they're getting full price for them. Explain to your clients that, and it's a hard thing. It's a hard thing to do, to try to explain to your clients without seeming like a pushy real estate agent that
Thank you.
this seller is not gonna accept a 50,000 less offer and you're asking for closing costs. Okay, so really you just knocked them down almost $60,000 off the purchase price.
Is there,
Go ahead, I'm
is
sorry.
there a percentage below, like, that's a good,
It depends. So, if it just came on the market, and they're needing closing costs, a lot of times what I will tell my clients,
asking
because
price?
I would give them asking price and I would ask for that closing, because that's gonna, at least take down the sale of the property $6,000 to $7,000. So typically, a good rule of thumb, anything over 150 or above 3%. Anything below that is, the percentage is gonna go up a little bit, okay? Because it's gonna be about $6,000 to $7,000 on the buyer side on closing costs. That's why people ask for buyers' closing costs, is because that is the expensive part of actually closing the property. Seller side is like $700-800, maybe $1,000. That's it. Buyer side, you're actually transferring all your information to that property for that buyer to have full possession with a mortgage. In most cases, I've had one cash deal and those are so easy and they're wonderful, because you don't have to worry about appraisals, you don't have to worry about anything. But they're buying through a loan, through a mortgage, so they have to understand there are certain, you know, things that go along with that. And the mortgage is gonna have their own paperwork, and then you're gonna have the own legal paperwork. A buyer's closing document stack is like that. A seller's is like that. Okay, so that's the difference. You know, as far as,
I haven't
Why it
bought a
costs so
house in
much.
like 15 years, but, back then, of course, people paid the selling and, paid the buyer's costs and all that. Is that very common nowadays since the market's so
it can be.
different?
It all depends on what you offer on the sales price.
If it's existing or new construction makes a difference.
And a lot of new construction, a lot of builders aren't paying closing costs anymore.
Really?
They don't have to.
I got under contract last Friday, it's $333,000 house, and the builder's not paying any closing costs, and
None.
that's that particular subdivision.
So in this one, we actually did ask for closing costs originally,
Mhm.
and she wanted all hardwood floors throughout her house.
Whoa.
Well, the closing costs that the builder was gonna pay for her hardwood floors. So there's nothing wrong with asking for closing costs
Right,
up
I'll
front,
get it usually.
because that ended up being a negotiating tool that I got her all hardwood floors throughout her house because we asked for that closing cost. And it was only like, I think 1.5% of closing. And when you do that, you're taking that from the sales price. Okay, so 1.5% of 262.9. Okay. So the next thing is the purchase price, which we just went over, and then the earnest money check. In most cases, the earnest money check is gonna be held by the listing agent's brokerage. Okay, sometimes it can be held by the closing attorney. I have one right now in Memphis that, I have the listing side. It's a $4,500 earnest money check. Instead of them having to come all the way down here to Hernando, I got Saddle Creek Title, and it's in the contract that Saddle Creek Title is going to hold earnest money check. Make sure that's in there too, okay? Because if it's in the contract that we're supposed to hold it, and then they're the ones, and it ends up that the closing attorney is the one that's holding it, then you could get in trouble for that too.
Now,
So
do they deposit that into their account?
yeah, they have their own escrow.
Within
But
24
now,
hours.
even
Yeah.
though the attorney may hold it, we're still responsible for our
Yes.
client's money.
Okay.
How it's dispersed and all that, and in some ways, we lose control of it. So
You have to
you wanna
trust
be-
that
yeah.
person.
I really
Or-
I trust this closing attorney. I've used him multiple times through the last 2 years. I know he's not gonna go out and do something stupid with my money, and, I respect him, and I know that my money is safe. My client's money is safe. Just remember, you earn this money check, just treat it like it's your money.
What's another option?
There really is no other option. You can allow the buyer's brokerage to hold that earnest money check would be the only other option, or the buyer's closing attorney. I don't recommend that as a listing agent, because if the buyer ends up backing out of the contract, again, that brokerage is supposed to look at the situation and disperse the earnest money as the contract dictates, but that doesn't always happen. So again, make sure that your clients are protected. That is our job. We're here to protect our clients. We are here as the professionals in the real estate business to protect our clients. That is our job. Okay.
We'll probably have another class about handling earnest money, because
Yeah.
it's extremely important to the state. It's one of the two ways you can get in big trouble.
This is just the start, guys. I just wanted to start with a buyer's contract because this is something that you're gonna do over and over and over and over and over again. This will probably be the very first document you ever fill out. And the more you know this contract, the better off you're gonna be when it comes time for you to fill this thing out. And you're gonna feel a little bit more confident because we went over it. So the next thing, who wants to read lines 20 through 30?
I'll read it.
Okay.
Earnest money, a sum of $2,500, a check.
And real quick on this, never cash.
Yeah.
Never. I don't even know why cash is on there. It can either be a check or a money order. Okay, those are the only two really acceptable options. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Is to be deposited with SOS Realty, broker trustee, who shall hold it in trust, presuming clearance shall be deposited, presuming clearance of check. Upon acceptance of the contract, earnest money deposit and down payment received by above named broker trustee shall be deposited in a federally insured escrow account and shall remain in the account until the transaction has been consummated or terminated. In any event of failure to close, broker trustee has authority to provide the earnest money to the rightfully entitled party based upon the terms of the contract. In the event the broker trustee cannot determine by the terms of the contract which party is rightfully entitled to the earnest money, the broker trustee shall interplead the funds. In the event interpleader is required, buyer and seller consent to the filing of same. Jurisdiction in the county where the property or any part of it lies. Entry of any order discharging broker trustee or the interpleading party upon deposit of the funds into court, and deduction against the money interplead of all costs necessitated by the filing of the interpleader actions, including filing and attorney's fees.
Okay, what is also the rule of thumb as far as earnest money when it's supposed to be turned in once the contract is binding? Anybody can tell me?
What's the question? I'm sorry, say it again.
When is the earnest money supposed to be turned in?
Within 24 hours.
Within 24 hours. So if for some reason, and a lot of times what I would do, in special stipulations, like I just got mine under contract on New Year's Eve. Well, New Year's Day, everything's closed.
First business day.
So you're not gonna, well, what I did is I actually went in and gave them till Friday. I said, you have until Friday X date to have earnest money turned into my closing attorney at Saddle Creek Title. And then that way, because if it's not turned in within the 24 hours, this contract is supposed to be null and void. So, a lot of times, and a lot of times it's hard to get your client that's working, a 9 to 5 to come in and have that and meet them and get the earnest money. So I will a lot of times put in special stipulations within 48 hours of a binding contract, earnest money to be turned in. That gives you 2 days to turn in the earnest money. And I think that's a reasonable time. So just to kind of protect yourselves as far as that. The next thing we're going into is whether the loan is applicable or not applicable. In most cases, unless it's a cash offer, it is going to be applicable. This is where you're going into an FHA, VA, conventional loan, USDA Direct.
Oh, I
I've
know
never
USDA.
used that.
I don't know what that is.
She was saying,
And a USDA guarantee.
Guarantee, that's the normal USDA, don't worry.
she's
That's what I
saying
used
that
to
that's
say
the
rural.
ones they do in the rural areas, and it's 100% loan.
Correct.
You have to
Both of
have
those
all
are.
Both of them are.
Rural development as well.
But I don't know what the difference is between the guaranteed and direct. I'm being honest. See there again, I've done this for a while and I don't know the difference between the two. I don't even know if George does.
I know.
I don't, we don't. So that'll be something I'll ask Micah.
The
Well, yeah, that's a
USDA was-
quick question. If you're using a mic or somebody's gonna pick up the phone or call you right
Text 'em.
back, you just say, hey,
What's the
which one
difference
is
between a
it?
USDA direct and a USD guaranteed?
Then you're gonna need to know the difference, cause it could be something really important.
And other could be a bank loan. They could be going through, doing a bank loan, or they could be doing, a 203K, they could be doing a construction loan.
What is a 203K?
So a 203K, most of the time it is added on to an FHA loan in most cases. It's basically a repair loan or a construction loan on top of the actual loan to purchase the property. So you go in and let's say I had one that I actually did for a foreclosure and there was no stove. There was a couple of light fixtures missing, and just a couple of small things. It was like $1,000 worth of repairs. So what they're gonna do is you will actually, so as a buyer, you cannot do improvements on the property until you own the property. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna go in, have a contractor come in and say, these repairs need to be done. This is how much it's gonna cost. And in most cases, I think Micah said 10% of that. So if it's $20,000 in repairs, they're gonna need $2,000 for that down payment alone for the 203K, plus the down payment for the loan. And in most cases, that still will qualify for a USDA, or if they're going Mississippi Home Corps. So if they're getting down payment assistance, you can still do a 203K on top of that. So they can get into the home without a down payment on their actual loan, but they're gonna need that money for the 203K. And that is just to do repairs to the house. So you would close, they would take ownership. Within 60 to 90 days, they will have to show that those repairs will have been done. Have an appraiser come back out to show that those repairs will be done. And then that 203K will be actually added on to the loan itself, and the general contractor will get paid for that work.
Is it considered a second mortgage?
It is kind of a second mortgage in a way that you're actually doing repairs or a construction loan. Okay. Anybody else have any more questions? All right. So let's go into 35 through 48. Who wants to read that?
I'll read it.
Okay.
If applicable, contract is contingent upon buyer being approved for a new loan sufficient to close, provided that buyer makes timely application and good faith efforts to secure a loan prior to closing. Within 5 business days after the effective date of the contract, Buyer will make application in proper form for the loan, shall cooperate with parties to obtain approval, diligently and timely pursue the same in good faith, execute all documents and furnish all information and documents required, and make timely payment of any cost of obtaining such loan approval. Failure of the buyer to make timely application for the loan and exercise good faith efforts to facilitate its approval shall entitle the seller at its option to excuse the failure and proceed with the transaction on such terms as the party may agree to in writing in the form of an amendment to the contract, or declare the contract void and refund the buyer the earnest money deposit and treat the failure as a breach by buyer under paragraph 10 thereof.
So what that is saying real quick, that in that case, the seller could hold the earnest money. It's actually saying that.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. No waste. This contract is conditioned upon delivery of the property and any and all improvements in their present condition, reasonable wear and tear accepted. Seller shall preserve the property in its present general condition, normal wear and tear accepted, and shall not permit the property to suffer waste avoidable by the reasonable exercise of due care. Any material change to the property shall be disclosed in accordance with the Real Estate Brokers License Law of 1954, as amended, allowing for termination of the offer as prescribed by law.
Okay, so I actually have had, in most cases, I do try to get my pre-approval letter. I did actually have a client that I closed this past year, sent them to Micah. She thought she had them pre-approved. There were some issues that came up and we had to switch lenders. One of the importance about making sure that you make a good name for yourself with other agents, you know Mr. Jonathan Bunch?
Yes.
He was the listing agent on the side. Me and him have a very good working relationship, and I flat out told him, I said, Jonathan, I know I sent you a contract. I know I had a pre-approval letter, but we had some issues come up. Micah cannot do this loan. The cool thing about this guy is that he said, Adam, we're gonna try to work this out. Here's a couple of lenders that I use that may be able to do the loan. One of those lenders was able to do the loan, and he worked with me. And but I flat out told Jonathan from the get-go that even though I sent you a contract, and my people were approved, that, they are no longer approved, and I want you to protect your clients. I tell you what, guys, there is no, better way to make a good name for yourself by being upfront and honest with other agents. Because we're all in this to do a deal together, to get things done. And the better reputation that you make for yourself, and that happens with every deal that you do, okay? That name will, I tell you, because agents talk just like your clients talk. And when you've made a good name for yourself, you will find that agents are a lot more willing to work with you and work with your clients because of who you are. Okay? And that is so important. I mean, because my people end up getting the house. I even told Jonathan to put it back on the market. I said, Jonathan, until I get approval from your lender, he said, Adam, I'm gonna put it back on the market, but I am letting these people know